Folks, this seller got themselves into some big trouble because they thought their condo was sold. I'll explain what happened and then get into the latest home prices and insights for condos across the GTA for week ending July 16th, 2025. If you want to speak directly with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video, in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. So I'm speaking with this gentleman. He's explaining to me what he just went through. He had his condo for sale, and it's pretty quiet, but eventually he received an offer. And there was a financing condition, and there was a status review condition. And his agent spoke with the buyer's agent about the financing condition and how is the buyer in a financial position to buy this, can he afford this, and asked certain questions. And the buyer's agent says, yeah, he's good to go, he's pre-approved, we should be okay. So he accepted the offer, the conditional offer, and within a few days the buyer's agent calls the seller's agent and says, bank has approved us. What we're going to do is we're going to wait for the lawyer to review the status certificate. And once that condition is fulfilled, we'll put them both on a notice of fulfillment, that both conditions, and then we'll be firm. Now, the gentleman I'm speaking with, the seller, explains to me that, so the financing is now all good. I'm familiar with the building. I know other condos have sold in the building. I don't expect there to be any issues whatsoever with the status review. There's a property I've been keeping my eye on, and I thought since my condo is sold, let me put an offer. So that's what he does. He puts an offer on another property. He says he didn't put a financing condition because his condo sold, and as long as his condo sold for the price it sold at, he was strong financially. And he didn't put a home inspection condition because he was going to do a bunch of renos, and he figured if I go in firm, I might have more power to negotiate a better price, which I did, he explains to me. I was happy with the price I was buying it at, so I went in firm. My offer got accepted, and so I've bought. And shortly after that, the buyer's agent calls my agent, he explains, and says, we need a mutual release. We cannot firm up. Financing is not coming through. So my agent tells the buyer's agent, what are you talking about? You told me the bank's already given you the approval. And the buyer's agent says, yes, something has changed, and now we no longer qualify, we can't buy. I asked him, so what happened? You bought, you needed that sale? He goes, what can I do? I don't believe his financing didn't go through. I believe he wanted to back out of the deal. But how do I prove it? I spoke with my lawyer, I tried to figure this out, and all I could do is issue the mutual release. But I was forced to get a quick sale, which I did shortly after, only because I reduced the price. I accepted a price lower than what I originally had it sold at. And that's, I lost a ton of money buying while I was sold conditional. Folks, look, you should know when you're sold firm, between that moment and closing date, yes, there's a contract in place. And yes, buyer and seller need to fulfill their end of the deal, whatever stipulated in that contract, the last of which being actually close. The buyer needs to pay for the house. But sold firm is not a guarantee. There are situations where buyers don't close, the buyer's in breach, and the seller has some recourse, but it's always a bad situation. It's not a happy time for the seller to have to figure out how to sue the buyer, and it takes a long time. It's not, just overnight this gets resolved. But that's sold firm. There's risks. Sold conditional, you're not even sold yet. Those conditions, financing condition, status review condition, home inspection condition, those conditions are designed to protect the buyer, that the buyer can back out of the deal, and they have the right to do that without any penalties. Now, it could be that a buyer wants to get out of the deal and uses one of those conditions to back out of the deal. But as a seller, good luck in trying to prove that. You're stuck. Do not, under any circumstances, if you need that sale to go through, do not base any decision on sold conditional. Sold conditional does not mean sold firm. But even with sold firm, there's risk. But there's like nothing. You've got nothing to hold on to in sold conditional. If that buyer does not, in writing, never mind just on the phone, one agent calls the other and says, hey, yeah, we're good, don't worry. You need it in writing. You need a notice of fulfillment for that condition or a waiver for that condition, and then you're sold firm. Don't make the mistake that this seller made, planning their next step, their next purchase based on sold conditional, or you could find yourself in hot water the way this seller did. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. Now, let's get into these numbers. Here we go, folks. What's happening with the condo market across the GTA? Well, let me show you. We're going to be focused on just for condo apartments, no data here for condo townhouses. So condo apartments specifically for the city of Toronto, for York region, and for Peel region. And over the last couple of weeks, each of these areas, average price seems to be trending down. If we take the lowest price here, Peel region, of average price of $514,000, and we compare to City of Toronto and York region, it's a bit of a difference there. $631,000 for York region, $650,000 for the City of Toronto. Let's start with the City of Toronto for week ending July 16th. 149 condo apartments have been sold. 10 of those sold at $1 million or more. Sales, I say this with a bit of hesitation, looks like sales are trending down, but by no means are they aggressively trending down. It looks like a casual, slow downtrend. Average price, a little bit more aggressive, also trending down. Average sold price is $650,000. We can go back to the beginning of May. It looks like prices are headed in one direction right now. Compared to the same week a year ago, $650,000 is 17% lower. The median price of $574,000 is 13% lower. The dotted line, the 4-week moving average, well, average price, yes, trending down. The median price, a little bit more flat, but right at the end looks like the downtrend is showing in the 4-week moving average. 149 were sold. 2 of those, so 22, so 15% sold at list price or more. 777 were listed. So there's new condo listings. They're not all necessarily new condo listings being listed for the first time. A bunch of those, for sure, are relists, condos that were previous listed for whatever reason. It was terminated, and now there's a new listing for the same condo that they've been trying to sell. But overall, new listings 777. There are currently 6,396 condo listings on the market available for sale. When we look at how many actually sold, the number works out to be 2.3% of condos available for sale actually sold during the week ending July 16th. In comparison, the detached market is basically double that as far as percentage of sales versus how many properties are available for sale. Months of inventory, way up there at 9.9 months of inventory. And for sure, all data, when we look at a weekly basis, we see it bounces up and down on a weekly basis. We're looking to spot a trend. 9.9, look, it's up from the week before, but being in the nines or the high eights kind of seems normal. I've got 3 months on the board here. There's lots of weeks when we're in the nines. So 9.9 is kind of normal for months of inventory right now for the city of Toronto condo market, pretty much a buyer's market. Here's the city broken down into 9 different sections. So if we're saying the whole city's at 9.9, some areas are worse than that as far as a higher months of inventory. Willowdale, Bayview Village area, 11.3 months of inventory. Midtown, 10.7. Downtown, 10.3. Weston Yorkdale, 11.4. Etobicoke, 11 months of inventory. Let's look at prices from a different perspective. Let's look at 1-bedroom condos versus 2-bedroom condos. Well, for 1 bedroom, 76 were sold for week ending July 16th. I'm reluctant to say that also, like when we looked at the whole city sales to me look like they're trending down, but not really by that much. If in fact they are trending down, that's hard to say. Prices though, it's pretty clear, trending down, not aggressively, but slightly trending down over the last couple months. For week ending July 16th, $523,000 is the average sold price of a 1-bedroom condo across the city of Toronto. 523 compared to a year ago is 17% lower. Here's 2 bedrooms. 62 bedrooms were sold for week ending July 16th. Average sold price is $794. If we go back, we were in the mid 800,000s when we're looking at the end of April and May. Now we're less than 800,000. So average sold price has definitely been trending down for 2-bedroom condos as well. Compared to last year, 794 is 2% lower than where we were this time a year ago. Let's compare the two. When we look at sales, the orange is 1 bedroom, the blue is 2 bedroom. Not a lot of difference in sales on a weekly basis, so sales are pretty similar between the two. Average sold price, however, there's a $271,000 difference between a 1-bedroom condo versus a 2-bedroom condo. $271,000 difference. That's a big difference. When we look at months of inventory, the 1-bedrooms have an 8.8 months of inventory. The 2-bedrooms have a 10.8 months of inventory. Also, it's a bit less of a difference in, say, the effect of $200,000, but it does play out to the direction of prices, the supply and demand. So there is a 2-month difference in the months of inventory. Let's look at York Region condos. For week ending July 16th, 40 condo apartments were sold. I'm not sure which way sales are headed for York Region condos. I mean, we were in the 20s and now we're up to 40. But if you look back, that's kind of the situation often. 1 week, 2 weeks low, and then boom, and then low, and then up, and then down. So 40 for weekend in July 16th. Average sold price, $631,000. Which way is average sold price going? It's difficult to tell, but we kind of, just at a glance here, kind of looks like to me, it's hard to pick a direction, but overall, we've been kind of hovering in the mid 600,000. Compared to last year, though, 631 is 6% lower than the same week a year ago. The median price of 588 is 12% lower. And earlier on the other chart, it was difficult to kind of spot a direction. If we look at the 4-week moving average, well, kind of looks like average prices for the last few weeks or so has been trending upwards in York Region, both average price and median price. 40 were sold, 11 of those, so 28%, sold at list price or more. 141 were listed. Of all the available condo apartments in York Region, and there's 1,221, only 3.3% sold for week ending July 16th. And months of inventory sitting at 7 months of inventory, pretty much a buyer's market. Here's Peel Region condos. Sales seem quite flat overall, but for week ending July 16th, 34 condo apartments sold. None of them peaked $1 million or more. Average sold price trending down. We're now sitting at $514,000. 514 is 20% lower than the same week a year ago. The median price of 504 is 15% lower. 34 were sold. 5 of those, so 15%, sold at list price or more. 164 were listed. Of all the available condo apartments in Peel Region, there's 1,206. Based on the sales that we did, 2.8% of all those available condos actually sold. And months of inventory sitting at 8.2 months of inventory, also pretty much a buyer's market. Here's the breakdown. This is all condos for the City of Toronto sitting at 9.9, but it breaking down, the 1 bedroom's 8.8, the 2 bed is 10.8 months of inventory. But York Region we're at 7, Peel Region we're at 8.2. No matter how you look at it, it's a lot of condos available for sale. The months of inventory versus the price, and you're looking at how many are for sale, how many do we actually sold. We have lots and lots of inventory out there for condos. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.